This is the craziest of times. Mr. Dan Stevens, thank you so much for being here. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Santiago from Spain. First of all, congrats on the film. I had a great time with your character. I had very big laughs with your character. And the
Great.
first thing I wanted to ask you is how, uh, what parts of the character were in the script and which ones were made by you? Because there are so many layers. There are the accent, the way he dresses, the way he talks, the way he speaks, he moves. What was yours and what was an original idea from the script?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess with filmmaking, it's always a team effort. You know, we have costume designers and hair and makeup. And so there's a lot of big group discussions, especially about the hair, you know, that go into making that character. And I suppose I would say, if I'm reading the script, I say, well, it's all on the page. This is obvious how Lemtov is. But that's just how I saw him, how I wanted to play him, I guess.
Okay.
But there's little bits of you know, influence from all over the place that sort of pour into him, I suppose. And it was funny to me that, you know, to get to meet some real Eurovision contestants who take part in the film,
Okay.
and they said, you know, he's a very recognizable character, Lemtov. He could easily be at Eurovision.
Sure, and that's another thing I wanted to ask you, because you are European, you're from UK.
Yeah.
Were you aware of Eurovision? Because this movie is like, I think it's made in some way to explain Eurovision to American people, but you were familiar with it. So what was your relationship with this contest? Do you know it? Do you like it? Do you watch it?
Yeah, of course. I've known about it since I was a kid. I think everybody who grows up in Europe, unless they're in a very strict or strange household, they will have heard of it at least, and probably grown up watching it, you know. And we definitely grew up watching it. And whether you love it or hate it, you know, there's someone in your family who wants to watch it and wants you to be quiet and listen to, you know, this country singing. And it's always an entertaining night, you know, for so many different reasons. You know, there's wonderful things, there's terrible things, there's political things going on. It's fascinating to once you dive into it. And now to get to explain that to grown Americans is just extra funny to me, and it should be to most of Europe. I think that, you know,
Sure.
to realize that America have never heard of one of the biggest TV events on the planet is really wild.
Let me ask you about the erotism in the movie, because your character specifically, but all of them are always
Yeah.
talking about sex, about making love, about passion, and I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a Will Ferrell thing or that's how Americans see us. How did that came up, and what do you think of that idea of Americans, that we as Europeans are all the time making love and kissing each other?
I don't think we should disabuse them of that illusion, but I think I don't know. It is very funny. Maybe it is part of the American stereotype of Europeans, which is, I hadn't thought about that. Probably not of the UK, but maybe the rest of Europe. But no, I think there's something very funny. You know, every year there are different styles of performer in the show, and there's everything from, you know, very, you know, sweet and beautiful folk music to, I mean, there's always at least one that is very sexualized, erotic. Like, it's not just a love song, it's like a sex song. And, you know, and we're going to unify Europe with this sex song. And, you know, it happens every year, and it's always been that way. I mean, maybe not in 1957, but certainly in recent decades.
Sure.
It's been a huge part of the competition, and I think it was important that we had it in the film.
One last question. Speaking about sensualism and erotism, there's one joke. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but there's one joke you have at the end of the film that I think is one of the most powerful scenes, where you laugh at how countries like Russia, they seem so sexual, but at the same time they are somehow repressed. I mean, do you think that's somehow true? Do you think that Europe is not as free as it seems?
Well, I think one of the great things about Eurovision is that it is a night that celebrates diversity. It celebrates LGBTQ, you know, very much, and it is very much a safe haven for that. Whilst a lot of countries, it's not a safe haven, and, you know, I think it's important to draw attention to that. And, you know, very often that's what the night of Eurovision does. And so, you know, that's not funny to a lot of people, that, you know, they have to go back home and you know, suffer abuse and sometimes worse, you know. And but I think it is one of the great things about Eurovision is that you know, it showcases these issues, it highlights these issues, and you know, is able to celebrate that diversity.
True. Thank you so much. Pleased to meet you. Have fun.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.